everybody, welcome to the third episode of I Have a Question. It's been a while, but this is the educational talk show where we talk about hot button issues, current affairs, learn kind of from each other's point of view, maybe be friendly, nasty, I don't know. But this is your familiar cast. We have Farisha, we've got Joel, you've got Narelle, and myself, Isaac. And we are happy that you are joining us today.
As you know, each episode we start off with a poll where we can vote with our trusty pedals. Blue for yes, red for no. In each episode, we also have an expert guest that comes in to lend us special insight to help us with our discussions. And at the end of the episode, we once again conduct a poll to see if our opinions have changed.
Our guest expert for today is Dr. Gillian Koh. She is the Deputy Director of Research at the Institute of Policy Studies. She's also the Senior Research Fellow in the Governance and Economy Department at the Institute. Let's all welcome Dr. Gillian Koh.
Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for
Thanks
being
for
here.
being
You're
here.
taking me out of my comfort zone. Completely different setting. But it's so great to meet young Singaporeans who are creative, doing a new thing, and really getting to the heart of what matters to all of us as Singaporeans. So thank you for this opportunity.
Aw, thank you.
So before we begin, I think it's good for us to have a quick recap of what really went down.
DPM Heng Swee Keat was widely expected to be the next Prime Minister. However, on the 8th of April, he announced that he was going to step down. He feels that by the time Singapore is done with COVID-19, he won't have enough of a runway. Thus, he believed that a younger candidate would be more suitable for the role. 4 people eventually emerged as potential candidates: Ong Ye Kung, Lawrence Wong, Chan Chun Sing, and Desmond Lee. Following this, a massive cabinet reshuffle took place. 7 of 15 ministries got new ministers. Here's how the reshuffle impacted the 4 frontrunners. Ong Ye Kung was previously the Minister for Transport, and he is now the Minister for Health. Lawrence Wong was the Minister for Education and is now the Minister for Finance. Chan Chun Sing was the Minister for Trade and Industry and is now the Minister for Education. Lastly, Desmond Lee remained as the Minister for National Development.
So on that note, let's kickstart today's discussion with a very important question, which is, do you think that the choice for Singapore's Prime Minister is clear? All right, if you agree that the choice for the next PM is clear, you are going to raise a blue. If you think, no, it is not clear, then you put a red. All right, everyone ready? 1, 2, 3.
Oh my god!
For the first time.
Is this the first
We're
time?
finally
I
in
think the first time
agreement.
everyone agreed on something.
This is actually quite in line with our OP poll as well. So of course, as with every episode, we'll do an sentiment sensing crowdsourcing kind of poll survey with you guys. And over 44.77% of you guys said that you do not agree with that statement as well, similar to us. And only 17% of you say that the choice is clear.
Well, I'm so curious to ask this 17%.
Yeah.
Why, and who? Maybe they should be on the talk show.
Yeah. Take our seat.
But you know, your audience poll, 90% of your audience poll are people who are 35 and under, or under 35 years old.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. So I think that's quite important. It
But
reinforces
as
the
you
point.
said just now, there's still 40%.
Still 40%.
I take it.
But I think you still have to account for the sentiment of the 60% that's not captured in your audience poll. I thought
I think
it's
it's quite
clear.
impossible for it to be clear because this is quite a surprising situation. Like
Yeah.
we've never had a DPM step
And it's
down
only
from
just
the role.
emerged.
Yes, and if there was someone that was clear, that person would have been DPM.
They would have announced it immediately.
For kind of like the first time you're like, huh? Nani, what's happening? You know what I mean? So I think that's why this question is being asked. We actually all don't know. Isn't that a bit scary?
Isn't it up to us to kind of also help shape the outcome?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Do we? Can we?
You certainly do. Performance of ministers in their roles matters. And again, that's another level of public reaction and response.
If that is true, why won't they give us our Tharman?
Isaac! So that's entirely up to the party.
Very hot, suddenly very hot.
You know, I think that is a question that's highly sort of based on which segment you speak to. Yeah, I'm treading on dangerous ground here because I think the PAP heavyweights have responded to that. IPS has done research on this question actually as far back as 2016. There is indeed actually segments of the population, go look at our data, that are sort of biased towards people of their own race.
Can I just say that it just feels slightly hypocritical? We were founded as a multiracial country. So why would you say, like, for example, our generation is more exposed when technically we've been around each other forever? But then to still say, oh yeah, but we can't have this race
because
be
it's still a
PM.
journey. It's not like we get there in a single bound, but there are many generations of Singaporeans still in existence with many forms of exposure, many histories and interaction with people of different race. So they grew up in a different setting from the setting that you grew up in. And that's why actually it is the younger Singaporeans who have a more multicultural ethos.
Just a speculation, totally just speculation. How long do you think before PM Lee steps down?
Well, he had actually said for a very long time he'd like to hand over when he's 70, which is next year. But I think the difference is the COVID pandemic. He said, we recognize we are still in the middle of the COVID pandemic, and far be it for him to just drop the ball and move on. So with that announcement, the expectation is the pandemic would not end very quickly. So I think for that reason, PM Lee is going to stay on for a while more, which then had the knock-on effect of Heng Swee Keat anticipating that the handover might even take as long as 5 years.
Right.
Yeah, so I think that's the reason why things are in flux.
So shall we move into qualities?
Absolutely. So
Here at I Have a Question, we decided to look at it from the perspective of the big 5 personality traits. The first trait is extroversion, and for this we considered how actively engaged the minister is with the people. Next is agreeableness, meaning a leader who is altruistic, compassionate, and has a lot of empathy for their people. In terms of openness, the third trait, we can look at how well informed and open-minded the leader is in approaching or addressing issues. Under the fourth trait, conscientiousness, we can consider the minister's diligence and attentiveness when fulfilling their duties. Lastly, for neuroticism, we can also look at how stable, reliable, and capable they are in carrying themselves well under high-pressure situations.
Based on those qualities, do we have a front runner personally?
wow.
Now
Maybe-
that I've cited these,
Yeah.
Okay, faster say, go.
Why me first?
Just go.
Lawrence Wong and Ong Ye Kung.
Lawrence Wong and Ong Ye Kung.
Lawrence Wong and Chan Chun Sing.
Sorry. What ice cream?
Lawrence Wong.
Huh, one only?
Yeah.
Wait, so everyone says Lawrence Wong?
Ooh, so I guess quite clear. Would you like to give an opinion, Dr. Gillian Koh?
Well, not right now. I'm just trying to let it all sink in. But I think Isaac said that there seems to be one in common. It's also, I think, with the COVID pandemic, you've seen Mr. Lawrence Wong as one of the co-chairs of the Bounty Ministry Task Force, being very even-tempered, even when there's quite a lot of bad news.
And I think he's done so with a lot of empathy, which was very, very heartwarming.
When he cried at Parliament.
Oh yeah, that was a big moment.
I
Real men
felt that.
cry.
It was
I
a
felt that.
moment, yeah. But now with the cabinet reshuffle, you have Ong Ye Kung as another co-chair of the multi-ministry task force. So you're going to have both of them side by side, not saying this is competitive, but you're going to see the different qualities and strengths of
Yes.
the two people that you cited, right?
Yes.
Why you say Chan Chun Sing?
Why I say Chan Chun Sing, you know that recording that came out?
Yeah.
There were some moments of it that really helped me to see that this guy, maybe his communication was not really there. We must understand the context of the meeting as well. But I thought about how he spoke about certain things, the way he thought about certain things, and I thought he really thought about Singapore first. And I had a bad reaction to his recording.
I mean, I guess it's about relatability, right? And I guess why I mentioned Lawrence Wong was also because, we've seen how several world leaders spoke, about COVID and everything. But when Minister Lawrence was on TV talking to us about all the different things that were happening, I don't know, I just felt like okay, I feel better listening to him.
So we did a IG live with him for National Youth Council.
did, yeah.
And I thought, we just asked really real questions, and he was off the cuff, and you knew that he processed it already. This is what he lived in the everyday. He didn't need to script anything down, and it was insightful. It was empathetic. It felt like he really understood the ground, and he was not afraid of the questions. And I thought that was really brilliant.
I think Lawrence Wong is also the only minister that I have met and spoken to personally, because I think it was like 2013, 2014, where we did an education panel together. And I have a small problem with authority, not gonna lie. So I usually get at least slightly triggered. But I remember leaving being like super wowed. Like he was so attentive, so respectful. And I was thinking like, who am I, this small girl on an education platform? But he really, like he came up after that and he said, oh, thank you so much for your insight. It was so interesting to say, blah, blah. And I was like, so...
There's one other spot that's quite important for prime ministers to be possibly, I mean, you know, is the defense spot, right? So Goh Chok Tong had it, and I guess you could say Lee Hsien Loong was formerly a brigadier general, so he knew a bit of that. Chan Chun Sing has been, you know, a BG, actually, MG, sorry. I degraded him and downgraded him. Minister Ong Ye Kung had a time, a tour of duty as, you know, a minister in defense as well. So I think that's quite an important portfolio to kind of have finance overview, have defense in out, you know, so a strategic kind of sense of Singapore and where it is in the world. Chan Chun Sing is very unique because he's had exposure to the social services, being a minister of MSF. Then he's been NTUC SecGen, so he knows sort of the unions and all that. MTI businesses, right? And now MOE back to the domestic audience. And there's nothing like facing a room full of parents.
Maybe this is the opportunity for everyone to see, for people to go, is there a redemptive thing about this whole situation?
No. What kind of redemption are you talking about?
Well, because a lot of people, when I say Chan Chun Sing, everyone's like,
Farisha, like you and I both chose Ong Ye Kung as one of our two choices. So like, why was he among yours?
Okay, so I'm a bit biased lah. He's from my GRC. So he come my house, say hello all. So
well, there you go. I think the personal interaction is important.
Exactly, yes. And my grandmother
It's
likes
got to
him.
be a positive interaction. Hello, you cannot knock on door and then...
No, but
people are
also,
miffed by the
I did a panel discussion with him as well on education, and I thought he was also very genuine in how he spoke. And he genuinely wanted to know like the sentiments on the ground, which I think is really important.
During his time as an education minister, he actually came down to one of the events that my team and I put together called Shine Now. So it's a youth conference that motivates young adults, you know, to pursue their passions. And then he gave like an opening speech, and he encouraged us to pursue our passions, but then he did so in a way that's very realistic and it's not just dreams, you know. He was talking about like, okay, here are the realities of the world today. Like, if we want to say that we are able to pursue our passions, sure, like that is a possibility today. But how do we navigate that? And I was like,
now take the next few practical steps. And I think that's what you need in terms of Singapore's leadership or leaders, because we all have very grand plans, but actuating them is where is the difference between just vision and real governance that must translate to actual steps, policy, resources put there, and you know, hands-on management of delivering all that to the ground. You know, so that's quite important. Lawrence Wong and Ong Ye Kung were both you know, principal private secretaries to the current Prime Minister. So they've had quite a lot of good tutelage. They've watched, they sat at the seat, watched the master in action. So, you know, I think in a way to nurture a Prime Minister or any minister takes a very, very long time.
Desmond Lee, I want to say I really like him, but I just want to ask first, like, do you guys watch Game of Thrones?
Yes.
I've always said, you know, like, Desmond Lee reminded me of Ned Stark, where sincere, capable, but just doesn't like the limelight, you know, just does his own work. And I believe that he was among the group that launched the 1 million trees plan. You know, huge, right? Like, especially for young people who care so much about environment. I know of friends who are from his constituency, and they say that he's very, very sincere with his like Meet the People session. Like, I've heard stories of how he would stay for hours and hours till late in the night, like going through every person's like issues and whatnot. And I feel like, and then you don't hear about these stories in the media. Like, obviously,
it makes us see the importance of media in displaying a candidate, right? Because I mean, if you did not have any one-on-ones with him or did not meet him, you wouldn't know that there's this side to him.
Are we okay with waiting for more than a year before this is settled?
That's a good question.
Are we okay with waiting?
Are you okay with holding off till past 2022. Okay. So blue with okay with waiting, red with no.
Okay, 1, 2, 3.
Okay lah, what's the problem? Relax only, bro.
Okay. All right, 4G leaders, use
It's me, right?
please
Okay, but
work hard.
Take your time. No.
No,
But
work hard and
I
figure
do
it out.
think that the idea of letting things take its natural course is a really good way of like handing over succession as well, because like, I mean, even though like, for example, US, you have terms, right? But then what happens is that they don't actually get to fulfill like the things that they're putting in place, and then the bills all over the place and everything gets so messy, you go back and forth, back and forth. I think it's great that, you know, we go by feeling. Even though, yes, it might be a bit anxiety-inducing, and I think communication is more important in this situation, I think overall that is the right way to govern.
It's also a human process of building up capability. You don't build up capability and relationships overnight either. And once you take one key leader out of the picture, it's a different dynamic even among the same leaders who used to be there. You've seen them, you know them, but you've taken one element out, it's a different dynamic. So I think that's the key thing. It's a human process. Yeah.
And it matters, is this a person that's going to sip the teacup for the next 15 years or something, you know? Like, I'm going to watch you.
Language changing teacup.
Yeah. It's a specialty.
It's a specialty.
All right, so that was a really good, fruitful discussion, I hope. We have to come back to our question again that we asked right in the beginning. The question is this: do you think that the choice for Singapore's next Prime Minister is clear? After all that we've talked about, we've mentioned a few profiles, maybe somebody has changed of opinion.
Lawrence, what?
Here we go, ready? All right, so blue is for it's clear, red for it's not clear. 1, 2, 3.
Interesting.
Yeah, but I think there's a problem, because I think there are people in Singapore, and certainly the older generation, and what we hear also among the older cohorts of PAP members, who think the decision should have been made yesterday already. So I think there will be some people who are not comfortable with the fact that this situation continues to be maintained, and probably expecting a decision in a year's time.
To be fair, it is quite an anxiety-inducing, especially because, you know, the way that our government has laid it out, it's always been very clear. There's always a pathway, there's always a plan. And in this time of anxiousness for this to come, it was a bit precarious. To be honest, like when we were voting at the start, I was like, oh man, like this is terrible, like our government is gone, you know, like, but after this discussion, but after this discussion, it made me realize like this is actually a really good opportunity and a new way of being able to see them grow into the position. So quite excited.
As you said, for us to grow as well.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I just want to add, I think that, like, you know, when I was thinking about this whole situation, I feel like when you compare to other nations, sometimes you don't even have 1 or 2 good leaders. The fact that we can have a discussion about so many leaders or everything's in stable place, I think that's a huge reward, and it's a testament of a level of great governance. So I'm really pleased with that. Yeah.
And on that note, I would like to thank OPPi as well as Lyf for helping us put this episode together. And of course, Dr. Gillian for taking the time to come and speak to us.
Thank you.
I hope you had fun.
For inviting me. Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
So if you enjoyed this episode, remember to like, share, and subscribe, and follow us on Instagram and TikTok too. Bye.
Bye.